In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys the average day in my life as a social media manager. If you've been around my channel for quite some time, you might know that I do a whole lot more than just social media marketing. I'm also an online course creator on SKILLSHARE. I of course have this YouTube channel and I do offer broader services than just social media, but I've really been loving these videos on YouTube recently in terms of how people make seriously decent cash from working from home in the social media management sphere. So if you're interested in that, then please keep on watching. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Megs and every week I release tech tutorials helping you do digital better. Started schoolwear. It probably goes without saying that a big part of my job is publishing content on behalf of my clients, so that is going to be my first task for the day. So I effectively do everything on Google Sheets, which I find is the easiest from an approvals perspective, so that my clients can make sure that they're happy with the copy, the pictures, and that everything has been kind of coordinated correctly according to maybe their promotional schedule. And yeah, then once they give me the go ahead, I will typically send things to myself on WhatsApp. So there's a really handy tip: if you add yourself to a WhatsApp group and then add someone else, remove them, then you end up being in a WhatsApp group by yourself, which is how I get stuff from my desktop to my mobile phone. So I'll show you how I do that now. So this is what my content calendars look like. So for example, we are currently in the end of March, so I'll just hop on over to March. The only challenge with Google Sheets is that sometimes things shift around a little bit, but you can see the majority of it is in the right place. So this is what's been approved for today, Wednesday the 30th of March. So I'll effectively then just send this post to myself using WhatsApp desktop. And because I'm on a group by myself, I can then just go there, download it onto my phone, and then publish it. I would say if you had a lot more clients than what I have, then posting in real time is probably not going to be feasible. So you'd be looking at scheduling tools like possibly Hootsuite or Sprout Social in order to do that. But because at the moment I just have 2 clients, I'm posting everything in real time off of my phone. And then in terms of how it's connected between like Facebook, Instagram, and so forth, so I post from Instagram, that shares to Facebook. So what I'll do is post on Instagram, share it out to Facebook, and then I'll go back into the Instagram one to edit and add my hashtags, because obviously I don't want my hashtags going out on Facebook as well. And then the other thing that I find super handy is I then just log onto LinkedIn on my desktop, or I can do it from my phone also, and then publish it there. So those are the 3 platforms that I'm really doing the majority of my work from. So how the drop downs work, which is pretty nifty, is the client will just log onto the Google Sheets and then use a drop down to change from either for approval to approved, or they'll have some changes and they'll maybe put that something's urgent. And then I also like for them just to add commentary in terms of what wasn't perfect about it, just so that I get to know them a bit better in terms of how can I ensure that there's the least amount of feedback kind of moving forward. So I would really suggest Google Sheets as a way in which to work with your clients, because I just find that this really minimizes the back and forth that then ends up happening on emails. So the other way that you can actually transfer things easily from your desktop to your mobile is using Telegram. So you'll notice that there's actually something called saved messages in Telegram. So what that does is then when I go and find the image that I've downloaded from Canva that I'm wanting to post, I can simply drag and drop it into my Telegram like so. And then, oopsie, let me just move this out the way. And then what you'll notice is when you drag and drop it like there, it actually allows you to either drop without compression or drop with compression. So obviously most of the time I'm going to say without compression, pop it there, and then again it gives you the option to compress or not compress. The benefit of doing it this way is that WhatsApp, if you're sending videos to yourself, it'll crop it at 1 minute 30 seconds, whereas this won't do that. Then you just send it to yourself and then you can easily go and download that from your mobile phone. So if you're not familiar with Telegram, the desktop version is amazing, and I would definitely suggest checking it out if you want this additional functionality in terms of non-compression, and obviously also then the increased image or video sizes. The other question that I do get asked quite a bit is how many meetings I have with my clients. So it'll depend client to client. Some of my clients are based in Johannesburg in South Africa, some are based in Cape Town, South Africa. So I typically will do like a Zoom or a Teams call, and this ranges between fortnightly and monthly. And this is the time when we can run through the upcoming content, what they are hoping to achieve with the content, if there's specific promotions they're running. And then we also run through the content calendar on Google Sheets so that they can let me know if they're happy with the content or if there's anything that they're wanting to change. In addition to obviously creating static content, so posts and stories, I also have to create reels. So one of my clients has been having the most amazing success with their reels. So I'm actually just going to show you guys exactly how I have been creating those for them. So I'll go into their brand account and check what is trending on their feed. I'll then go and save that audio. For example, the one that I've really been enjoying is this one. So once I've taken a screen recording of that reel, obviously the audio is associated to that. I then simply hop into InShot and I pop it onto the timeline. I then go to volume, extract audio, and then you can see I can actually remove the audio from the visuals. Click all good. Then what I'm going to do is I've actually sent myself a whole bunch of pictures that I'm wanting to sync to the audio. So let's just go here. Okay, so now I can see the pictures that I'm wanting to sync. You'll notice that you do have to recrop some of them, so you just can use the TikTok aspect ratio. So go to each of them, say crop, and then 9:16. I'm going to delete the actual video clip that was actually associated with the audio, and then I'm going to trim these images to the beat. So let's see if it's 1.3. You can see how long each clip plays for with the number in the top right hand corner. Okay, so it sounds like it's more like every 1 second. Actually, let's do sort of 0.9. So it is a little bit fiddly, but once you get the hang of InShot, you will never turn back. 0.9, 0.9, 0.9, 0.9. So what I'm actually gonna do with this reel, I was thinking of combining photos and videos, but I don't think that that's actually going to be the route to take. So I'm rather just looking for more images from my client in terms of exactly what the treatment rooms look like and what you can expect when you walk into their stores. So I've just hopped on the computer and I'm looking for images in that vein. The one thing that you will become very good at as a social media manager is organization. So I like to use Dropbox, and I also like to use Google Drive in order to back everything up. And funnily enough, when my hard drive recently crashed on my computer, I didn't lose anything because that's just how organized I have to be these days. And I do normally just chat to them on WhatsApp with Reels specifically, but if it's not video content, then everything else goes on Google Sheets. And then if sometimes I do need to include a link to what I'm referencing, maybe a PDF or something like that, then I'll also include the Dropbox link on that Google Sheet that I shared with you guys. In terms of where I work and what my whole setup looks like, so you guys will probably recognize that I have been filming a lot more from the kind of like waiting room area of my flat, which is purely just because the lighting is absolutely amazing. There is a beautiful pool and lots of light that's coming in from this side, which is why I often end up filming here instead of in my filming room. And then you can also see that there's a lot going on there in terms of equipment and so forth, because yeah, even though I have an office, would you believe that most of it ends up happening there? And then this is really what the office space looks like. So there's 2 desks there and there, and then a lot going on in terms of just soundproofing and so forth, which is what these big panels are actually for. So if you ever end up going down the route of course creation, you will note just how important acoustics and yeah, just having no echo is really going to be. And then other little bits of equipment that you will obviously also encounter if you ever go down the YouTube rabbit hole are things like halo lights and that sort of thing. So this is actually my desk, but it's a little bit chaotic at the moment because, as I say, I normally end up sitting in that room. And then this is also another filming area, which again is a little bit messy at the moment, but yeah, that's really where a lot of my other YouTube videos are filmed when I sit down. But as I have noted in a previous video, I actually have skylights in this room, which makes it not ideal when the light is changing. Then this is just kind of a little walk-through area, and then in terms of the bedroom where I also sometimes work, that's what that looks like. And if you're interested, I actually have a couple of videos about how I pay my rent using SKILLSHARE, teaching social media marketing. So if you do go the route of becoming a social media manager yourself, you will note that because you only have a finite amount of hours in the day, you might want to go about teaching social media as well, because by helping others do what I'm doing, it's really paying my rent passively, which is insane. And then the money that I'm bringing in from retainers and from clients is then over and above that, which is really, really cool. So as you may have gathered, there's actually quite a lot that goes into social media management. So I really enjoy watching these day in the life videos because everyone kind of shares the different facets that they particularly are strong at and interested in and therefore probably focus on, whereas other people will focus slightly differently. So I love the copy and the Canva design side of things. I'm less interested in doing community management and the answering of queries because most of the time I find that this just adds more fat onto my retainer and therefore makes it less feasible for smaller businesses to actually partner with me. So I typically will bill about 12 hours a month at my hourly rate in order to do the copywriting, hashtags, and the creation of the stuff on Canva. So that's really how I spend my time, and then posting that as well. So that's quite a good indication in terms of how much time I'm spending. And then that will typically get my clients about 12 posts, some of which would be stories and some of which would be reels as well. And so that's really how I choose to structure it. There's no correct way of doing it, but what I would suggest if you're first getting started in this world is definitely set up a service level agreement or SLA, as well as kind of ring fencing the time that you're going to be spending, because obviously with social media it can be a bit of a bottomless pit, so you don't want to be working around the clock and then not being paid for that. And similarly, you don't want to be working on public holidays and weekends because there was a miscommunication, or maybe you didn't explicitly say that that wasn't going to be the case. So oftentimes you'll find that people will take what they can get. So if you maintain your boundaries up front, or set your boundaries up front and then maintain them, you're really going to end up with a better result in the long term, because you don't want to have a contract that's not sustainable or unprofitable for you, because it's going to end up in you really resenting that particular client. So I'm actually busy grafting on my SKILLSHARE updated social media marketing course. I will link my current one down below. Obviously, just with the platforms changing all the time, it is quite difficult to keep up from a course creation perspective, just to make sure that all of the features and benefits that you're speaking about when it comes to the platforms are up to date. So I spend a lot of time updating those. And you will notice, obviously, if you do go into social media management and you're not yet already, just how many times things change when it comes to the Instagrams and the YouTubes and the LinkedIns of the world. So a lot of time is actually spent investing in those trends and insights so that you can stay one kind of step ahead of your clients. And then also when it comes to actually being able to meet a client's requirements, let's say of creating reels, you do need to be on the ball in terms of apps and stuff that's really going to help make your life easy. So in the process of really going through that course updating process, I just jotted down all the different aspects that I'd love to cover in my new course. And so I just wanted to share it on this like more vlog style video because I think it is just worth mentioning. So in addition to the writing and design components that I've mentioned, obviously there's also an approvals process and scheduling. So that also needs to be part of that 12 hours or whatever you're charging clients. And then also upfront in your SLA or service level agreement, you're going to stipulate whether you're just doing organic posting or whether there is a paid component. So what I find works really well with my clients is having one post a week be promoted. So not all of the content is promoted just because that's not always super affordable for small businesses. And then that of course needs you to be familiar with Facebook's back end called Ads Manager or Business Manager. Or alternatively, you could just use the boost post functionality, which is a simpler way of doing it, but probably not going to get you the best results. So that is when I would suggest looking at something like Facebook Blueprint to actually upskill in the paid media sphere. There is the community management, which I've noted that is not really something that I want to spend too much time doing just because I think there's better uses of my time. And then also in addition to your SLA, you want to have an onboarding process. So it would be a little bit awkward if you signed on a client and they were like, cool, how do we start? And you're thinking, I don't know. So in terms of that onboarding process, some of the things that I would suggest definitely getting a handle on are things like saving of passwords. So I've been introduced to LastPass about a year ago and I have never looked back. So I was constantly resetting passwords. It wasn't a secure way of me being in charge of other people's kind of logins. I wasn't sure where to write it down. I didn't want to save it on my laptop in case something happened to it. I didn't want to write it on a piece of paper. So LastPass is really going to be a game changer in terms of password management, and that does become very important if you have 4 logins for every set of client or however many platforms they have. So that would be, of course, a portion of the onboarding is actually them sharing their passwords with you and you being able to assure them that that's safely and securely stored, as well as any of your ways of working or processes, how often you're planning on having statuses with them and what that looks like. The recommendation that I did note came up quite a bit in terms of these sorts of videos was how to actually get started in the world of social media marketing, because obviously it can be a little bit daunting. So some of the key and great tips that I heard was offering to do it for free, maybe for a friend or an acquaintance. And although that sounds like, oh, you know, how am I going to justify wasting time and not charging for it, is definitely the best way to get started, because you really want to get into that mindset of using social media as a business tool and not as a personal tool, which is obviously something that most of us are very familiar with. And once you're posting on behalf of someone else, you do feel the weight of that responsibility in terms of ensuring that everything is super professional, not only your communication with the audience, but with the client as well. So just getting to grips with that is sometimes a little bit daunting up front. So what is a good idea is maybe doing it for someone that you know of, or someone that's a friend of a friend, so that it's not this big scary kind of thing that you have to overcome. And then also when it comes to your onboarding process, just being able to articulate to your clients which are the softwares you're using, how you go about things like reporting, if reporting is something that is included in your 12 hours. In my experience, you would have to charge probably a bit more than 12 hours and factor in the price of paid for software if you're going to offer that to your clients. Typically, the reporting that I will do, especially for the smaller businesses, is more in terms of anecdotal feedback on their insights, which I can easily see on the Instagram app or on the Facebook back end. I don't generate lengthy and long reports just because I'm not sure that that's the best use of time again. With corporate clients, however, of course, then these in-depth reports become a lot more crucial because they're having to report back to their bigger business, be that the board or whoever at an exco level needs to be able to see how social media is contributing. But for smaller businesses, typically it's quite obvious. You can see, for example, how many views a reel's got without spending 4 hours generating that report. But certainly reporting and insights does become a bigger and a bigger factor as you move into the bigger business space and the bigger kind of corporates. And then you would almost certainly need software to help you with that. Whereas the process that I've kind of outlined, as I've said, because I'm only currently running with 2 private clients that I'm actually managing fine without using the Sprout Socials or the Hootsuites of the world. So there's also quite a lot that you can do on your phone. So the softwares don't necessarily need to be desktop based. In addition to using Sprout Social's app, when I am using the paid for version of Sprout Social for my clients, I would have that. Then I also do use the Canva app in order to create on-brand stories for my clients. So that's a really good one to use on the go, because then it allows you to be a little bit more fastidious around things like the fonts that you're using, as opposed to just doing it natively on the Instagram platform. And then, as I've noted, InShot, if you're going to be offering any kind of reels or video production for your clients, then the premium version of InShot is imperative, unless of course you want to do the TikTok workaround where you actually edit on TikTok and then use a third-party tool to remove the watermark. It's crucial though that you're not just posting your TikToks to Reels, because if the Instagram algorithm picks up the fact that there's a TikTok watermark, it's obviously not going to get the same reach. So that's also something that's worth bearing in mind. So my client actually just confirmed on WhatsApp now that they are super happy with the reel that I created, so I get to post that tomorrow morning for them. So I really feel like you guys have seen quite a bit in terms of the behind the scenes of being a social media manager. It's been a very work heavy day. Some of the days I'm moving around a little bit more, so I could definitely do a more updated one when I'm actively going to meetings and on phone calls. But today was really kind of like an admin and a paperwork day. If you want me to cover anything else, maybe more on SLAs, invoicing and so forth, then please do let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I can't wait to see you in the next one so we can keep on doing digital data.